Hey there YouTube, this is Dan Strong with Excel VBA is Fun. Today we had a question from Alex M. He said that he'd like to be able to do a for next loop with dates instead of numbers. So he'd like to start with the date, and in his example he had A being equal to, at first it would be 0 and then 10 eventually. So in his first one it would be cells A, comma 1 equals date plus A. So I think the error that he got is because you can't have row 0. Now if he made A equal to 1 to 10, that would have worked, but again he would have found that each and every time no, that's wrong. This would be today's date, and then at first it would be plus 1, and then it would be plus 2, and so that would work. I think the reason you're getting that error, so let's copy this over into a new workbook. Here we go, we'll zoom that in a little bit. Alt equals, and we're going to go ahead and do a new module. Let's make a new procedure, sub, and what are we going to call this procedure? Let's just call it loop date. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. I'm going to paste his code here, and he's got for A equals 0 to 10, and then he's also got the number 10 days. Okay, the reason this line is red is because he's got a number sign and all this stuff out here in left field, so to speak, and what we've got to do is put an apostrophe before that, and that will comment this notes section out. Now it's not red, but the reason we'll get an error now is because we don't have a row 0, column 1. So we want to make this from 1 to 10. Now you might be saying, well, yeah, that's fine, row 1, column 1, that'd be cell A1, but I don't want it to be, I don't want it to be today's date plus 1, which is tomorrow. I want the first one to be equal to today. Well, you just do an if-then statement. So if A equals 1, I guess, so if it's the very first one, then we do this without plus A. I hope that makes sense. I'll break it down here in a second. Else, and we do our end if. Now, that looks tacky, so I'm going to hit tab and hit tab. So now we know what's contained within our if-then loop. So here's our loop. A is going to be equal to 1 the first time around. Then it's going to be 2, and then 3, and then so A is the very first time. If A equals 1, it will be this. Then it's the very first time it's going to go here, and all the other times it's going to go here. So the first time it's going to say row 1, column 1, that's cell A1, equals today's date. DATE is a built-in variable within the system that always means today's date, and it's always correct. And then the next time it comes around, A is going to be equal to 2, so it'll actually jump down to here otherwise. And then it's going to say the cell which is in row 2, column 1, so that would be cell A2, equals today's date plus, and this will be 1, or no, this will be 2, won't it? Let's see. So alright, well, let's just debug through this. I'm not sure what he wanted to do, if he wanted it to be today's date, and then tomorrow's date, and the next day, or if he wanted to start with tomorrow's date, then you don't need this if-then statement. So let's go back to the comments here. Okay, date column, always the same date. How do I make it such that it starts from the current date and adds 1 day every day? Starts from the current day. Okay, so he does want that. Let's go back to Excel and then back to the VBA thing here. Let's hit F8 and just see what we can do. So A is going to be 1 to 10. It starts with 1. See? So if A equals 1, which it does, then cell A1 essentially equals today's date. And there it is. Let's expand that a little bit so we can see. Alright, and scooch this over here. Scoochy, scoochy. There we go. Now, when we hit next A, it now becomes 2. So A equals 2 So we're skipping over to the otherwise, or the else section. So now cell A2 is going to be equal to date plus 2, which we actually just want that to be date plus 1. So let's make it date plus A minus 1, which we can kind of cheat, and we know that that's going to be equal to 1. So now we do that, and yes, that's the next date. And then the next cell is going to be the next date, and so on. And you might want to make this from 1 to 11 if you want 10 days. So let's start that over. Let's clear this out. And let's run it another way. Hit Alt F8, and we'll only want ones in this workbook. So the one called loop date is the one we just created. Let's double click on it or click run. I'm going to double click. And there we have it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that too many? Okay, if we just wanted today, and then 9 more days, then it would be that. If you wanted, I guess I didn't need to do all the way to 11, unless you wanted today's date and 10 more days. He wants 10 days total, then I screwed it up. My apologies. So Alt F8 and double click on loop date again, and there's your 10 days. Today's date and then a bunch more days. Of course, you know, if you wanted to do that in column 2, you would just want to put column 2 here and column 2 here, and it would do it in B instead of A. So Alt F8, double click there, and now it's done it in column B, and etc. And if you want to be really zany and have a whole bunch of fun, then you could make this really interesting. We could make this also A, and then it'll increment the column as well as the row each time. So that'll be weird looking. I'm going to hit F5. So see what it did? Here, here, here. In fact, I'm going to Control Shift right and double click on these to auto fit. So it made a little pattern there. Alright, anyway, that's how you do that, and that's how you increment dates. Thanks for watching. God bless.